Do you remember like one of Emily Sonnet's first training camps when she called handball on Alex Morgan?
Yeah,
and
I'm like still afraid to tell this story publicly though, Becky. Like, hi everybody, and welcome to Good Vibes FC. I'm Sam Newis, coming to you from the Women's Game World Headquarters in Vermont.
And I'm Becky Sauerbrunn, coming to you from Portland, Oregon.
All right, Becky, I have been waiting to talk to you on Good Vibes because I am having this issue with my bed sheets, and you're just like my most mature, rational friend, and I just feel like I need you to figure out what's going on here.
Okay, yeah, give it to me.
Okay, I know this is so mysterious. So for years, for literally years, Pat is my husband of 6 years, we will have bed sheets. And after not a very long time, his gets a hole down by his feet, a ripped hole. And I am is this your toenails?
Is it?
I literally don't know. It is a mystery, and I need someone to be does this happen to anybody else?
Does Pat have talons? What do his toenails look like?
I couldn't really tell you.
You never see his toes?
I mean, I see them, but it's I'm not touching them and being are these the sharp thing that is cutting through the sheets?
Well, maybe you should just do a little bit of a finger test and just see if those suckers are sharp.
I guess I need to. So you don't know anything about this?
I have never in my life heard of a hole in the sheet happening like that.
It's such a mystery to me. I'll get new sheets because I feel bad that his have a big rip in them, but then it just rips again.
Could it be Finn? Is Finn allowed in your bed?
Because it's always on Pat's side, right down by his toes. And I'm you must just have claw feet.
I mean, I am just as bewildered as you because I have never heard of this happening.
All right. Well, I'll have to ask my mother because hopefully she has some worldly wisdom.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was such a weird start to the podcast, but I just have been thinking about it for a week and wanting to ask you about it.
I'm sorry I'm no help, but I honestly I'm flustered here because I have no idea how that could be happening unless it's sharp toenails.
I do love coming to you with weird Pat situations and just seeing how you react.
Yeah, I do have a very strong reaction to most Pat things, don't I?
He's just the best.
He is. He's great.
Toenails and all. Becky, what's new with you?
Nothing really. I just got back from a road trip. We had one of our CONCACAF games up in Vancouver, and then we went straight to Louisville for one of the NWSL regular season games. And so I just got back yesterday. So I'm just kind of that was the last long road trip potentially. And so, yeah, I'm just enjoying a few days at home now that it's international break. We got 4 days off. So I'm just going to be chilling for a little bit.
Oh, that is so nice. I'm really glad you have big plans to read and relax.
Yep, it's finally fall. I'm going to read. I'm going to hang out with the cats, going to make those inroads with their affection. Yeah, it's going to be nice.
I'm so happy for you. Well, Becky mentioned that it is the international break, which means there is U.S. Women's National Team games coming up. So today on the podcast, we are going to talk about that camp. It's the first U.S. Women's National Team camp since the Olympics. We'll talk about the roster and the implications and the games. We're also going to talk about Kelley O'Hara's retirement game. I went to it on Sunday. Gotham handed Orlando their second loss of the season. I'll tell you all about the game, the party, all the people that were there. Plus, we're going to talk about Bos Nation FC. It is here, and there is already some drama. And we got an email from Carly and Oliver about how players get the news of making a roster on the U.S. Women's National Team. So we'll give you the inside scoop on how all of that works. But Becky, let's get right into it. The U.S. Women's National Team October camp roster was released last week. They're going to have 3 games this window, 2 against Iceland and then a 3rd game against Argentina. And there are also a few celebrations slotted in, including celebrating Mal and Rose's 100th caps.
Oh, man, they've really grown up.
I know. I'm so excited for them. And also, Kelley O'Hara is celebrating her retirement with the national team. I want to talk about the matches themselves and the roster that Emma Hayes, just 10 matches into her national team career and fresh off Olympic gold, decided to bring into camp. So 18 members of the 2024 Olympic team were named to this 26-player roster. There are 6 uncapped players going into camp. Those 6 players are Hal Hirschfeld and Emily Sams, who both went to the Olympics as alternates but didn't play in games yet. PSG center back Eva Gaetino, who makes her second U.S. Women's National Team camp. And then first-time call-ups defender Alyssa Melanson, forwards Yasmin Ryan, and Emma Sears. There are also 4 players from the Olympic roster that are missing from this camp. Tierna Davidson and Croy Bethune are injured, while Trinity Rodman is just returning from injury, and so she's going to stay with her club team to prioritize rest. And then Crystal Dunn is unavailable for selection due to personal commitments. And Crystal has been unavailable for Gotham as of late as well, so I hope everything is okay with her, but I don't know much more than that. Becky, I want to know your initial reaction to the roster.
My initial reaction, this is a big roster, but it makes sense because it's 3 games. It's at the end of the season. I imagine there's going to be quite a bit of rotation. It is also, I would think, kind of like a celebration as well for that Olympic team. And so that's an interesting group coming in because you're going to have these players that are gold medalists, recently gold medalists, and then you have these young 6 uncapped players who are going to be fighting for first minutes. And so it's an interesting kind of dynamic going into this one.
I know. I do remember after winning the World Cup in 2019, those first couple camps back very much had victory tour vibes. Obviously, it's still super competitive, and I want to get into that in just a minute and talk about what camp is going to feel like for those new players. But speaking of the new players, I'm curious who of these players that are being called in for the first time or who are newer, who have you played against in the league this year that has really stood out to you, that you're excited to see in this new environment?
So a player that I've played with on the Thorns and against is Yasmin Ryan, and I'm really excited about her. When I played with her on the Thorns, she's just a special player. She, on both sides of the ball, can do extraordinary things. Her willingness to pressure and put really great pressure onto defenders was really unmatched. And then just what she can do on the ball. I mean, she's got great feet. She can hit the crap out of a ball too. Her strike is so pure and she can get so much pace on it. And so I'm really stoked for her. We actually, when we were playing together, I got a coffee date with her. And I remember just talking to her and just being hey, what are your, what do you want to do with soccer? And this was definitely one of the things that was on her list. And to see over the last few seasons, her work her way up to a call up, I'm just so proud of her and so happy for her. And I know, I really do think she has a place on the national team.
Oh, that is so exciting to hear. 2 things about Yasmin Ryan. One, you mentioned her ability to strike the ball really well. And I also wanted to note that I feel that she's a really versatile midfielder. She can play 8, 10. She can play a little bit wider. And I actually think that really lends itself to Emma's tendencies and preferences for the midfield, is this really kind of versatile attack. And so I'm excited to see how Yasmin fits into that. And then I also just wanted to add that I met her at Kelley's retirement party. And I said, "Hi, Yasmin, I'm Sam." And she was like, "Oh my God, hi, it's so nice to meet you." And she was so sweet.
So sweet.
And I got to say, "I think you deserve to get called in. I'm so excited for you." And then we played Flip Cup against each other.
Who won?
I only played 3 rounds and my team only won once.
Oh my God, Sam, you're kind of out of practice, huh?
Yeah, Becky, I do not, we're going to get more into this, but I just don't thrive late night anymore. I have just become old so quickly.
Oh, it's okay.
I want to talk about more of these new players. 18 of the players in this camp just won a gold medal. And it's I feel like there's such a huge contrast to what this camp is going to feel like for them. Think about Mal is celebrating her 100th cap. But then there are players going into camp for the first time. And I think something we always talk about when you're a young player on the national team, and even not that young, is that moment where you're crying in the shower and you had a bad training or you missed a pass or something went wrong and you just feel it's all coming crashing down and it's going to be over soon. And you sit on the floor of your shower and you just are in private. You just shed a tear for yourself and your lost career, even though that's not the case at all. So I want to hear from you, what do you think about this contrast in this camp between a gold medalist celebrating and then a player who's in camp for the very first time?
Oh, I know. It's so interesting because the players that have been in the environment know it is not an easy place to exist in a healthy way. And so those players that are hitting their 100 caps, they have found a way to kind of make the discomfort comfortable. And I think we talk about that a lot. In that it's not an easy place to be. You're evaluated every single day. These new players are going to be going in on their first day and they're going to be learning about all these morning assessments that they're going to have to do. They're going to be all these meetings, all these technical resources that are available that they're expected to take advantage of. Like, it is just a download of information that they're going to be receiving. And then you have these players that are like, oh, this is just second nature. I know exactly what I need to do, when I need to do it. And you don't have to be as hyper vigilant. But it is a stressful environment. And so it's even more interesting that so much of the group is going to be kind of celebrating and this other group is going to be hungry. And so I think it's going to be super fascinating.
I do too. One thing that Emma said was that there will probably be vastly different rosters for each of the 3 games. And I think that is really exciting for fans to think about. I want to think back on our first camps, and I want to actually use this as our Olipop gut check of the week. So I'm cracking open a cream soda.
Oh my gosh, me too.
Oh my God, twins, Reba.
Twinsies.
I'm so happy.
Cheers.
I'm really curious, like, what is the quintessential first camp experience? And I feel like I have mine. The feeling is captured by this moment where I was at my like very first official camp. I feel like we were in like Dallas and it was cold out. And I jumped up in a small-sided game to head the ball, and I like went to head backwards. And who jumped up with me but Carly Lloyd? And who headed Carly Lloyd right in the face and gave her a black eye that she then posted on Instagram? And I was like, it's over. Like, you can't injure Carly Lloyd in your first training. This is like so unacceptable. And I think what it all boiled down to for me was like, I felt bad. I felt guilty. I felt like she wasn't going to like me. And in the end, it was all totally fine. Like, I think that's a message I want to get out there is like, you're going to feel really uncomfortable and like you might have done something wrong. But like in the end, you just have to keep going and everything is totally fine. But it's almost like a feeling of horror.
Yeah, I can imagine. Do you remember like one of Emily Sonnet's first training camps when she called handball on Alex Morgan?
Yeah, and I'm like still afraid to tell this story publicly though, Becky. Like they made up. Years later. But I mean, talk about making an impression in your first camp. Wow. My goal someday is to have both Sonnet and Alex on to tell that story in full. But I just don't feel like I can do it justice. And I'm scared of like rehashing old beef.
Okay, fine. That's going to be a later podcast then. But people listening, you are in for a treat. I tell you what. My first camp feeling was like awe. We were in LA where we have so many of our like early year training camps. And I get my key card and I'm going up to my hotel room. And I open the door and I think I hear CNN or something on the TV. And I open the door fully, bring my luggage in. And my roommate is Brianna Scurry. I like, you not. I kind of got like lightheaded. Like I thought I was going to faint because I had idolized Bri from the 1999 team on. Like I was like, I am meeting a hero. And that kind of
and
like
living with her and sharing a bathroom.
Exactly. Exactly. So I was like, where am I? Do I belong here? How am I sharing a room with this legend? So like, that's how I felt. I was like, I just felt so out of place because I was meeting my heroes.
But that's like, it's such a different story, but it's such a similar feeling to mine of kind of like, oh my God, am I really here doing this? Is this okay? Like
I'm living my dream.
Yeah. Not that it was my dream to give Carly Lloyd a black eye. Of course not.
Liar.
But it is this feeling. And I hope that these players can come in with confidence that they do belong there. But like also knowing that it takes time. Like, I don't know if I ever fully was like, yeah, I'm on the US women's national team. Like I was still always waiting to feel like I had made it. So that's kind of what it feels like. And I think sharing that feeling of just a little bit of discomfort and like, am I really here? Is this really happening? Is the quintessential feeling of your first camp.
Oh, do you want to know something else? So
I do.
One of our first lifting sessions in that camp, you know, that it's like prescribed for you, like Dawn Scott, who was our like sport performance coach at the time, hands out these sheets and it's just your whole lift was written out on it. And on it was just this like arm workout. It was almost like a warm up, not really the true workout. And I look over at Lauren Shaney, who's Lauren Holiday now, and she takes the bar, which is 45 pounds. And it's basically she has to do 10 rows, 10 bicep curls.
I remember this workout.
10 push presses. And she makes it look like it's the easiest thing in the world. And I was like, okay, like I lifted in college. This shouldn't be so hard. I think maybe 3 reps of each exercise. And I was like, oh no, like I have so much growth that I need to do for this team. I am weak. I am not strong enough. Like these women are on a different level.
That is actually such a good story. And it reminds me of so many of those gym workouts that someday we will get more into. And we will just, you know what we should do is give an old U.S. Women's National Team gym workout, and we should put it out on Instagram for the fans.
We totally should. Here are 30 different single leg squat exercises. Good luck.
Well, that's our Olipop gut check of the week. Good luck to all the new players going into camp. It's going to be great. It's also going to be really hard, but everybody's rooting for you. It's so fun. So one other thing that I kind of wanted to talk about, Becky, is like there is some healthy experimentation that the team is going to go through. The next major world tournament isn't for 2.5 more years. And so I think what I'm thinking about is like, we're going to give reps and experience to players who may be ready to start in a World Cup game 2.5 years from now, not right now. And it reminds me of 2017. We played France at the She Believes Cup. We lost 3-0. We were trying out a 3-back. There were younger, newer players playing, including myself, who did not do very well. We lose the game. I feel terrible. And then the reaction from the media is like, the national team sucks. For me, I was like, aren't we getting ready for something that's 2 years away? And it's not to take away, like, friendlies matter. Like, every single game in a U.S. Women's National Team jersey matters and is important, and we should want to win all of them, and we do. But I think that there's like a long-term thinking that's about to start right now. And so I wanted to talk about what we might see. Like, might we try a different formation? Is it okay to experiment and give these younger players reps? And how should we, as fans and media, approach that and think about that?
Oh, Sam, I really wish you hadn't brought up 2017 because I remember that. I remember it all too well because I was the left center back in that 3-back against France. I remember RFK Stadium in the final. It was cold. France scored early and often. And yeah, like the 3-back didn't work for that profile of team at the time. And that's okay. Like we tried it. We learned that it didn't work and we discarded it. And we knew going into 2019 that like, hey, we're not doing a 3-back. If anything, we're going to do a 4 or a 5-back. Yeah. So I think it would be a disservice to the program if we didn't experiment and we didn't try new things. I think the U.S. did amazing at the Olympics. I think teams now are going to be scouting how to stop us from doing the things that we need to do. The game evolves. We need to evolve with it. And so, yeah, I think we should be trying different things. I think different profile of players, different formations, different type of tactics and principles. Like, yes, now is the time to do it.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think as now a fan and somebody who is commenting on these games, I want to have high expectations and be critical where necessary. But I also want to be like really open-minded about it and encourage growth and experimentation, and just keeping in mind there's like literally 30 months between now and the next big thing where like all eyes are going to be on the World Cup in 2027. And so I'm excited for this period to see what happens. And I think that it's equally exciting for players who are like my age or just turning 30 who are thinking about 2027 as like their time to lead the team. And it's equally exciting for these young players who are like, my dream is to make it in 2027. So it's going to be such a fun time period to watch this team grow.
For sure. And I think like we do need to give them grace, but also remember that this group, like this program, we don't throw away any friendlies. Like we're always trying to win. Like the goal is to always win. And so, but we have to try things, and you have to be able to figure out what works and doesn't work and like make those mistakes. And really like, it's a really nice thing to have is this much time because you can learn so much about the group through those mistakes.
Yeah, for sure. What?
The bunny's hanging out in the cover prop.
Oh, cute. I'm just on a recording. Sorry. Love you. That was really cute. Pat came in and showed me a picture of a bunny out in the yard.
Oh,
how sweet.
Do you have bunnies?
We have a little garden and there was a bunny in there.
Was it eating your garden?
This is such a tangent, but it's just a cover crop. So the crop is going to die and protect the soil over the winter. And then we'll plant our vegetables in it in the spring.
Sam, you sound like a completely different person than who I knew 2 years ago.
I know, Becky. I am a farmer's wife now. So all I do is like think about the garden and listen to Pat talk about the garden.
Yeah, it sounds like you can't really hang with the youngins anymore either.
Oh my gosh, no, I literally can't. I'm going to have to tell you all about that and Kelley's retirement party in just a second. But I just want to remind everybody, there is so much U.S. Women's National Team content coming out this week. Interviews with Mal Swanson and Naomi Girma coming out later this week. And then Wednesday, we're dropping an all-new episode of Sammy Banana Phone where our listeners call me with questions about the U.S. Women's National Team. And finally, Becky and I are getting back together on Thursday night and Sunday night, right at the final whistle of the U.S. Women's National Team games for a Do It Live, a live reaction show on the Women's Game YouTube channel. Thursday is at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday is at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Okay, Becky, so I went to New Jersey, New York, Gotham area on Sunday to see Kelley's retirement game and go to her retirement party. The retirement celebration occurred during the NWSL's marquee match of the week. It was Gotham versus Orlando, and Gotham won 3-1, giving Orlando their second straight loss after they lost to the Portland Thorns. It's actually the 7th unbeaten game for the Bats. But I want to talk about Orlando really quick before we get into Kelley. They won the Shield and they lost 2 games in a row. Like, what does that mean? And like, does that matter?
I think it does matter because I think momentum is a real thing within sports, and you see it a lot in the NWSL with all these streaks. And winning is a habit. And so if you fall out of habit, you can find that it's a little difficult to get back into it. And so I am a little like, this is an interesting second result for Orlando. I mean, when they played us, the Portland Thorns, they didn't start their usual starters. And it seemed like they did start some of their more regular starters. And so still losing to Gotham, who rightfully is a very great team, very high up in the standings. So it's going to be a tough match either way. So yeah, I'm a little kind of like, that's interesting. Like, you don't want to be going into postseason
Not feeling good.
not feeling great. Yeah.
I know. It was really, really interesting. I will say, and I think that the storyline around Gotham, I feel all year has been, they're so talented that once they click, it's going to be really hard to beat them. And you said yourself how much momentum matters, that I'm kind of like, Gotham's on a 7-game unbeaten streak. They're going into playoffs on a high. They kind of did the same thing last year. And so I'm wondering if momentum is just shifting at a kind of unlucky time for Orlando. But I would never bet against them because they have been so good this year. So it's definitely setting up playoffs to be NWSL chaos, which we all love. All right, I want to talk about Kelley.
Yeah. More importantly, let's talk about Kelley. I want to hear everything. Like, I don't even know where we should start, but like, tell me.
Well, I'll start with my day. I flew into Newark. I went to Lynn's house. We packed up, me, Lynn, and Marley. We drove to the stadium together. I went up to the suite where all Kelley's friends and family were going to be. And then, like, Becky, everybody just started showing up. So, like, I communicated a little bit with Kelley's fiance that, like, I was coming and, like, gonna be there. And I, like, did not talk to anybody else about if they were coming or not. Pino walks in. Heyo walks in. Laurie Lindsay walks in. Alex walks in. Krieger walks in.
All in the suite, all in the same suite.
Just walk in, and I see a new person shows up, and I'm like, oh my God, hi, I didn't know you were coming. But then it's kind of like, obviously you were coming. Of course we were going to all come and see Kelley and like be here. And so there is this, I've actually mentioned this before. The first time I ever felt it was at the ESPYs in 2023, when a group of like retired players went to the ESPYs together to receive the Arthur Ashe Award on behalf of the national team fighting for equal pay. And I felt this like camaraderie with all the other players because we were like in this club. It was like getting my team back. Like, I think I've had this huge hole in my life without a soccer team to be on. And it's like when you go back and you're like a part of this little group of like, you're like back with your team. And so I just feel this like real sense of camaraderie. Like, Alex was asking me like what I'm doing for workouts, and me and Kelley were talking about swimming, and me and Pino were talking about podcasting, and I'm showing Laurie Lindsay my draft for the team of the year for the NWSL, and we're chatting about players, and it was like, it's just kind of like inspiring, and it's such a good reminder that going to events like this gives you the feeling that you've lost when you're not playing anymore. Like you go and be around these people again and you're like, this still exists. I just have to like seek it out.
The way you're talking like makes me so happy because like we are part of something really special with some really special people, and just hearing like all the things that you have in common with all these players, like even if you don't interact with them on the day to day, you still have so much in common and have gone through so much and have so much experience and love for each other. And so I had extreme FOMO last night for sure when I was watching all this stuff. I was watching Kelley talking.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, post game, and she's saying like, "Oh, I made it this far without crying," and then she starts crying. I'm like, "Of course she's gonna cry because that woman cannot not show her emotions. It's like her heart is on her sleeve, and it just looks so beautiful, Sammy. It like I'm so glad you guys were all there.
It was really, really nice. She sat in the suite for part of it. She looked like she had so much fun. She definitely got emotional during her speech down at the field. But she was freaking at the after party. She was raring to go. She was Kelley O'Hara. She was leading the charge for small side. Like she was as intense as ever, demanding that we play flip cup, demanding that people do the shot ski. And I was like, I need to go to the bathroom quickly. I'm unavailable for the shot ski at this time. But I remember specifically during the game, I got a few minutes to sit next to her and I just said, like, how do you feel? Are you happy? And she was like, yeah, I am happy. Like celebrating this with the people who have been here with me is like so incredible. And I think Kelley obviously isn't getting exactly the end that she would have dreamt of, not being able to play with injury and kind of she planned to retire, but I know she wishes she could help Gotham in playoffs and be playing. But seeing her kind of start to make some of these adjustments and transition into what is a new chapter, I think as somebody who has really struggled with that, I'm proud of her. I think she is like doing everything right. I think that she's like valuing having hobbies and her relationships with people. And so I think Kelley is setting such a good example for players who are going through something difficult and transitioning out. And I was just really honored that I could be there. Kelley came to my retirement party. We've really kind of leaned on each other through this as we don't have like the same injury, but I think they're kind of similar. And so it was like really special to be there. And it was really nice. Even though, Becky, I got so like I can just not stay up late. Like New York City is terrifying.
So had she like rented out a bar or?
Yeah. They rented out a bar and it was from like 9 to 1. But then there was like plans to go elsewhere.
An after party?
And I was like,
absolutely not.
My flight home was at 8. So I was like,
all-nighter.
I have to go. So we Irish goodbye in true Kelley fashion.
Oh, she likes that, doesn't she?
I mean, you just got to do it. Do you Irish goodbye ever? Yeah, you definitely do.
Yeah, look at me. Of course I do.
Yeah. I mean, you're like a homebody too.
Yeah, for sure.
But can you stay up late?
If the vibes are good, yeah, I definitely can.
The vibes were good. And I did get a second wind, which was fun. Like the music was bumping, good vibes. Like there were so many people there that I like knew and hadn't seen in forever that like you'd start chatting with somebody and you'd get re-energized. So I had like literally the best time.
Good.
And then I slept on Lynn's couch for 3 hours and flew home. And here I am.
I mean, you seem like you're doing great. You're like thriving.
I'm doing great. The thing I do know about myself is that like I thrive on like social interaction and like seeing my friends. Yeah. And like that gives me, that is like, I could replace my sleep with that, but like not for long. You know, like I gotta sleep then too. I don't know.
I can do it to a degree, but then my introversion hits and I'm like out for the count. Yeah.
Do you have anything about Kelley that comes to mind when you think about her career and her retiring that you would want to share?
Oh, man. I think just with Kel, I think about just the competitiveness that we're all competitive, but she somehow brought it to a different level and it all just made us better. And she never sugarcoated anything. She always tells it like it is and how important it is to have someone on the team that's like that. And I love that I got to play with her for so long. I learned so much from her. We're like very different people, but I think that made it better. Like
Yeah.
I think she made me more outspoken. And I don't know if I did anything for her, but she was definitely someone that I could lean on when I needed help with stuff. And I think about more specifically, like the plane ride home from 2019. And we're both just sitting on that plane. And I think I've talked to you before about this, Sammy, but just like being like, oh my God, we did it. We did it again. Like how did we do this? And just like the disbelief and joy of sharing that moment with her on that plane ride home. And there are little things that I know you've talked about on the podcast, like the ball hitting off her plant foot as she's crossing it.
Oh
And
my
instead
God.
of being embarrassed, she just
Classic.
laughs at herself. Like, I love that. Like, I love
Classic.
that about Kelley. Or like way back in the day, we were in England and we were doing like a Harry Potter, like Quidditch race. And she, as competitive as she is, she like hauls ass from the start line and they say stop. And she slips and she falls so freaking hard on her ass and it's caught on film.
I think I've seen this. It's definitely on YouTube.
Absolutely. Like she's just like a wild one. And it's just like, I've had so much fun with her. And I know that whatever she chooses to do next in this life, like she's going to crush it just like she did her career.
Yeah, I know. Kelley is like, I think what I'm learning is that these relationships we make in soccer, like when we're lucky and when we take good care of them and when they're real and deep, like we still get to have all that. Like I like know I will still get to be great friends with Kelley, just like I know I'll still be great friends with you and Lynn. And there are just the relationships that we form and all the things that we've been through, like will outlast our playing careers. And I think that is, I feel so much more confident that I know that now because I'm on the other side of it and I can feel it happening. So congrats to Kelley. It was really fun.
Congrats to Kelley.
She gets to do it all over again next week with the national team.
I know. I hope it is just as wild.
Freaking legend. So it's time now to talk about Bos Nation FC. If you haven't been on the internet in the past week, the new Boston NWSL club, who announced last week that they'd be called Bos Nation FC, they also released this marketing campaign and a video to inaugurate the team. The video, which was received extremely poorly by the women's soccer community, really centered men's sports in Boston and also used phrasing that I think was beyond inappropriate and actually transphobic and really alarming to the women's soccer community and the trans community alike. I spoke about this last week on a podcast, and I think my main takeaway was that the messaging in this campaign just didn't feel appropriate with where we're at today with women's sports. But Becky, I have been really curious to hear what you think, and I was wondering if we could get your reaction to this video and marketing campaign that came out.
Yeah, Sam, you mentioned messaging, and I think people are rightfully offended because the messaging of it boils down to men have balls and women do not have balls. And I think that type of rhetoric is harmful and hurtful to the trans community because there are women who do have balls and men who do not have balls. And so I think it just so wildly missed the mark because of its like blatant disregard for the people who make up the NWSL community, like our players, our staff, our supporters, like people who are a part of the trans community and those that support and love those trans people. And so I was kind of like, what the F? Like, this is way off the mark. This is not right. It is so antiquated. It's so hurtful and harmful. And I think it's a very good thing that they took it down as fast as they did.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Becky. And I just want to thank you for addressing this so directly, the element of this video that was transphobic. I really appreciate the way that you're able to speak about this and the way that you're able to advocate for a community that is important to all of us here. I don't want to erase what happened. Bos Nation FC apologized. I think they did so meaningfully. They apologized directly to the LGBTQ plus community and to the trans community in particular. I think this was concerning for a lot of people in a lot of ways, and it remains to be seen exactly how it will be rectified and handled. We both want the NWSL to succeed. We both want expansion teams to come into the league and do a good job. But I think first and foremost, we want our current players to feel safe and included. And this video didn't hit that mark. I'm hopeful that NWSL Boston will rectify what went wrong and address inside their structures and processes how this happened. And I think apologizing is a good first step in doing that. Okay, everybody, here are a few other updates that we thought that you would need to know. I want to start with Angel City. So Angel City was fined $200,000 and docked 3 points a couple of weeks ago for going over the salary cap in 2023. And they released a statement claiming that the salary cap overage for which they were docked those points was actually for childcare expenses. And there's a couple athletic articles that you should go and read to learn more. But I think what I'm taking away from this situation is that it sounds like two things are true. It sounds like Angel City didn't disclose certain payments in line with the rules of the NWSL and the salary cap. But it also is becoming really clear that mothers everywhere and mothers in our league should be compensated more for their childcare expenses.
Agreed. I mean, I'm watching Bella Bigsby, who just gave birth to Ruby, and taking them on the road, the amount of crap that you need somebody there to take care of the child when you're at practice or getting treatment. And it's just like, these are real expenses and they really pile up. We're on the road 12 games out of the 24, like all those flights, the extra hotel rooms, like the parents of our league need more.
Yeah, I think that it's in everybody's best interest to support these players who are parents and give them the support that they need to be successful on the field and take care of what they need to off the field for their families. So this is a hard one to talk about as well, because my understanding of this is that Angel City still needed to disclose these payments. So the league finding fault with them is not necessarily wrong, but it feels wrong because we're like, everybody should be getting paid to take care of their kids. So I think this is like something we need to address as a larger conversation, is that childcare expenses should be increased.
Yeah. And on the flip side, there also needs to be transparency with all the other payments that are possibly happening that are not hitting the salary cap.
Very true. The rules do matter, but okay, well, let's leave that one there. I think we got that one. Okay, other news. The Off Season, which is a reality drama TV show focusing on NWSL players in their off season, starring and produced by a very good friend of the women's game, Midge Purvis, premiered this week. It promised, quote, messy drama. And Becky, it delivered. I literally clicked play the moment it came out last Friday, and I was hooked. It's like reality. It is reality TV. It's so good.
I watched it this morning, and I was like, I'm absolutely going to be watching every single episode that comes out. It was so well done. You can already tell that there's going to be drama. And I just like, Midge is so perfect for this show.
I know.
She just like tells you how it is. And when I'm like already going into the episode analysis, but then when they showed up late to training and she's like kind of pissed off, I was like, as you should be.
I know. I would have been so mad.
Yeah. You set up this entire thing, brought your own trainer, and they're like showing up 15 minutes late. I would have been like,
I know.
Not on my watch.
It's such good drama. I am going to be watching every episode. I saw Midge at the Gotham game, and the next episode comes out on Friday. So we're going to have weekly viewing reviews on Good Vibes.
Excellent.
You can watch that. It's called The Off Season. It's on X. Comes highly recommended from Becky Sauerbrunn and Sam US. Okay, another note. Temwa Shawinga added to her single season goal scoring record this past weekend. She scored 20 goals this season, everybody. Kansas City dominated San Diego 4-1. You know our mantra here at Good Vibes. Temwa Shawinga is good at soccer.
Honestly, it's just wild. She's scored against every single team this season. Like, what kind of record is that? It's wild.
It is, like, I can't say enough good things. Like, she's willing her way to score these goals. She's in the right place. She's making them happen by herself. She's so good. It's incredible. No defense can stop her.
Yeah. Nope. But we shall see.
Not yet, Reba. Not yet. Okay. There are 3 teams fighting for 2 playoff spots, and it will all be decided next weekend after this international FIFA window in the final NWSL games of the season. Portland and Bay FC, Becky, as you know, are currently sitting above the playoff line, and Louisville are within the 3 points. So they're must-watch games. They're happening next weekend. We'll update everybody in the run-up to them. But Becky, any initial thoughts?
Go Thorns.
Go Thorns.
Go Thorns.
Go Thorns. Merritt Mathias celebrated her retirement at the Angel City game this past weekend. Becky, I know we've both played with Merritt. 3-time NWSL champion, 3-time NWSL Shield winner, and one of only 11 active players who have played in every NWSL season to date. And just one of the most big-hearted people I know. She has so much love in her heart. So I just wanted to say congratulations to Merritt.
Congrats, Merritt.
Frickin' love ya. Me and Merritt, it's so weird, but like, we both call each other Yams. And it's like one of those like nicknames that like we're both yams.
Oh, that's adorable.
It's so weird. I don't know.
Oh.
I think it was originally like her nickname for me because yams rhymes with Sam.
Mm-hmm.
But like we just both refer to each other as yams. It's like
it's beautiful.
It's pretty silly. Across the pond, Reba, your Arsenal have now won their first 2 matches since their former manager, Jonas Eidval, resigned. They won a Champions League match against Vålerenga and then a WSL regular season match against West Ham. So they are on the hunt for a new manager, but the ship seems to be turning around.
Yeah.
And I was just wondering quickly, Becky, like, what's up with this? Like, was the manager the problem? Like, why do teams get this like new manager bump?
I wish I knew, but we went through it with the Thorns when we got our new manager, and it's just like a thing in sports, and I guess in particular in soccer, where the team just kind of has this new motivation and energy, and maybe it's because all those players know they need to show well for the new coach, or maybe it's a sense of freedom, or like the rain's coming off or something, but I don't know. But it is a strange phenomenon.
It is a phenomenon. I just literally so bad wanted to say a feminine nomenon. That's actually probably my favorite Chaperone song.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Do you like Chaperone?
I do.
Okay, let's go to the inbox really quick. We got an email from Carly and Oliver that says, "This is Carly and Oliver coming to you live from the women's game fan headquarters in Detroit, Michigan." Freaking love that, Carly and Oliver. I was wondering if you could pull the curtain back a little on how roster drops occur for the players. Is it different for camps for big tournaments versus those for friendlies? Do you always get a call from the coach? Or is it sometimes just a boring email? Who gets called first? And how far in advance do players know before the rest of the world knows? Please give us all the details you can. Huge fan of the show, Carly. Oliver must be Carly's pet.
You think so?
I think she sent me a picture. I should double check that. But Becky, I'm hoping that you can tell us what this has been like most recently. I haven't been on the national team in decades, it feels.
Well, I mean, I can only speak to the U.S., but usually when there is a friendly or a big tournament coming up, there's a provisional roster that gets sent out, and it's a roster size that's bigger than what the actual final roster is going to be, and it gets sent to all the team's management for the players that are on the provisional roster. So it's kind of like a, hey, watch out, these players potentially are going to get selected for this event.
Right.
And if it's like a big event, like the World Cup or the Olympics, usually what happens is that a coach or someone on staff will let the players that aren't going to make it, they'll call them and let them know. And then they get the happy times where they get to call and tell the players, hey, you're going to the World Cup. Sometimes, like with Flacco, it's on FaceTime, or with Emma, it's just a phone call. So it kind of depends on the coaching style. And I think it does change for friendlies. Usually that can just be an email. But I know that for some coaching staffs, if your status from one camp to the next changes, like let's say you made a camp and then you're not making the roster for the next, then that'll warrant like a phone call just to give you a little bit of feedback as to maybe why you didn't make this next camp. And then on the reverse side of that, maybe it's your first camp and you do get a call from the coach because it's your first time at camp, or you haven't been on the roster for a while and then you just made it. So there's a bunch of different factors that go into it, but it's always kind of an exciting time because the players will find out before the public. And it's always fun to see if maybe something leaks and you find out well before the public knows.
The thing that always happens is you're kind of afraid to ask some of your friends if they got their invite yet, because you don't want to be the one to break to them that the invites are out and they didn't get one. Yep. And so there's kind of this, like, you don't like announce it in your group chat. Like you kind of are like feeling everybody out a little bit. And I don't necessarily think that that's happening at this camp, but in like pretty like tightly contested rosters, it's kind of like, oh my God, we know only 22 people are going. Like, did she make it? And you kind of like ask a friend on the side, like,
yep. Like, what are you doing next month?
Yes. Yeah. But it can be hard because it can be like a little bit awkward with some of your closest friends, like trying to just gauge who's going. Lynn told a funny story about when she made the Olympic roster. They all got on a Zoom call and that she was like frantically scanning all the faces, trying to be like, how many are here? Who's an alternate? What's going on? But that's like, that totally captures what it's like. It's like this mad dash to figure out the roster.
Oh, yeah.
When you're like on the team. Yeah. It's so crazy. I did find out. This question is from Carly. Oliver is her dog. It's a beautiful dog. I went back and looked at the email. Love Oliver. Thanks for the dog pictures, everybody. And don't forget, you can write us with questions. Send us any question you like. I love reading your emails, and Reba and Lynn and I just love answering your questions. So send us an email at womensgamemib@menandblazers.com. All right, Becky, we made it all the way to the end of the episode. We talked about so much stuff in this episode.
We really did.
We really did. We're like a spirit Halloween store. We've got everything inside. Do you have a good vibe for our lovely listeners this week?
Oh, yeah. My good vibe is for Kelley, and just, I feel like so honored to have been just a small part of her journey. And so I think the good vibe is being a part of someone's journey, and like, maybe it's a small moment, maybe it's a bunch of years, maybe it's a lifetime, but like being changed and affected by that person. Because I know with my friendship with Kelley, like I am a changed person for the better. And so I guess just appreciating those little moments.
Oh, that's really sweet, Reba. I'm going to give a good vibe for Kelley too, because I just don't want to be left out of this little love circle here. Kel, she's just the best. I also feel really lucky to have Kelley in my life, to have been teammates with such an incredible competitor, and to have gotten to be a part of one of her retirement celebrations. Soccer has brought so many awesome people and things into our lives, and remembering that sometimes is really, really important. And I think that like rituals and like celebrations, while sometimes feel kind of like, oh, that's this thing I have to go and do, and it's like this formal moment, I think they're actually like really important. And so making the effort to be there for people like means a lot and can be really, really special. What good vibes we have.
Hell
all right,
yeah.
That's it for this week's episode of Spirit Halloween Good Vibes FC. Are you subscribed to this podcast feed yet? I really hope that you are. If not, please subscribe right now, you crazy Patrick Swayze. It's available wherever you listen to podcasts. We're also on YouTube. We're on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Threads at Women's Game MIB. Don't forget to check out the interview with Mal Swanson that dropped yesterday, the Sammy Banana Phone episode that is dropping Wednesday. And then, as I told you earlier, I just need to remind you one more time, Becky and I are getting the band back together at the final whistle of the U.S. Women's National Team game on Thursday. Join us on the Women's Game YouTube channel at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, it's right at the final whistle for a breakdown of the game. We'll be back Sunday night for another live reaction show after that game. Put all this in your calendar, and while you're doing that, make sure you're subscribed to our YouTube channel so you don't miss any of it. All right, everybody, I'm going to let you go now.
I'm Becky Sauerbrunn.
And I'm Sam Lewis, and this is Good Vibes FC. Love you, bye.
Bye.